James Charles, a name so chilling that it requires a trigger warning. Trigger warning, James Charles. You can say a lot of things about James Charles. Most of them are bad, like really bad. But objectively, he is one of the most well-known influencers from the last 10 years. And because of how much exposure and business success he saw over the years, James Charles is truly somebody who could have had it all if only he wasn't a piece of shit. If you're watching this video, odds are you've heard of James, or you've at least heard of his infamy. You may have had the petrifying experience of seeing his BBL or hearing him say, "Hi sister, hi sister, hi sister." This guy's digital footprint has some of the funniest and grossest shit I have ever seen. Because as we'll get into, he is a massive creepo, freako, womp womp. It is quite a tale, so allow me to take you on an unhinged James Charles deep dive. James Charles, or James Charles Dickinson, was born on May 3rd, 1999 in Bethlehem, New York. And he is Emily Dickinson's third cousin twice removed. Ignore that. It was a lie. I just lied. But in 2010, at the age of 11, he started his very first YouTube channel called Jay's Coding. This channel mostly consisted of him covering songs like Pumped Up Kicks,
You better run, faster than my bullet.
Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood,
Call my name into this leather seat.
but most notably, this It Will Rain cover where he's wearing this wolf hat.
Morphine at my door.
And although these childhood videos are wholesome, this would be the start of a very troubling pattern of him singing unprompted. Although my personal favorite video that I found on Jay's Coding was this 6-second upload of just a image of an eye. Like, bro really uploaded an image to YouTube, and that is so of the time. But in 2015, he would launch his second and main channel that we know today as James Charles. And this is where he started uploading makeup tutorials such as Serpent makeup tutorial and Snapchat Galaxy makeup tutorial. And as you can see, none of these look particularly good. In fact, they're pretty bad, but I assure you everyone's makeup looked really bad in 2015, so that really means nothing, I guess. But he was gaining a really decent audience from posting these tutorials. But the inciting incident, the catalyst that would launch James Charles's career, happened in September of 2016. And this moment would have irreversible repercussions on society and the internet. James was 17 years old at this point, and he had just taken his senior photos, which came out fugly according to him. And so he hired the school photographer to come back and let him retake the pictures with his ring light. And as you can see here, his highlight is definitely going off. His brows have a good Roblox look to them. However, where I draw the line is that man bun. What the Anyways, his friend convinces him to post these new glamorous pictures online, and they go extremely viral. Like, this picture of James was being shared so much that CoverGirl noticed it. And that is how he became the world's first male CoverGirl. Now, because this was 2016, it stirred controversy amongst conservatives. And you know, of course it did, because it's CoverGirl, not CoverDong. Seriously though, I found this old Twitter thread where people are just bitching about this like there's no tomorrow. A great example is this one. This is not progress. Millions of girls suffer from unrealistic beauty standards. Using boys just exacerbates it. Boycott CoverGirl. There's also this one where a woman compares James being on CoverGirl to a white person doing blackface. Nurse, she's out again. Anyways, outside of these randos videos making a stink out of it. This opened up a lot of opportunities for James. I mean, he went on Ellen. I guess that's not that impressive though. As I mentioned in the JoJo Siwa video, you could literally fart into a bucket and somehow make it on Ellen at this point in time. And as his fame was escalating, he did his first ever fan meet. Only 50 people showed up to this event, and one of the videos that was taken there was turned into a meme because at some point James just sat down on the ground and started singing.
Bring me a little water now. Bring me a little water, Sylvie.
I don't know what my favorite part about this meme is. It might be the Snapchat caption that says "F it up," which insinuates that he's doing a good job singing right now. Or it could be the fact that he raises his finger up as if he's hitting those high notes. This was of course the very first time that he was turned into a meme, but it certainly would not be the last. This same year, James did a CoverGirl promotion with Zendaya, and oh my god, this has got to be one of the most unintentionally funny videos I've ever seen. So this video that they're doing is a challenge to see what makeup looks they could come up with in the span of 5 minutes. And so they're both in a rush and trying to showcase these CoverGirl products along the way. And about 30 seconds in, James gets befuddled and just starts copying Zendaya and then acts like everything he's doing was his idea.
I use that in my inner corner.
Same. I use this as a base for the blue.
Yeah, same.
And not only this, the end result is so bad. She absolutely ate him up. I can't believe this video exists. These two people should not exist in the same universe. James would soon also start doing collabs with massive YouTubers like Tana Mojo, Joey Graceffa, and even non-YouTubers like Maddie Ziegler. However, he would soon find himself in his very first controversy, and that is the Ebola tweet. On February 16th, 2017, James writes, "I can't believe we're going to Africa today. OMG, what if we get Ebola? James, we're fine. You could have gotten it at Chipotle last year." So obviously this is very out of touch and just kind of assumes that Africa is like a diseased, riddled area. And so people were not happy about this. And so the very same day he did his first public apology ever. He wrote, "I am extremely sorry. Regardless of my intentions, words have consequences. I take full responsibility and will learn and do better." And people definitely still thought James was racist for like a good month after this, but the discourse got completely overshadowed by the events of March 5th, 2017, which was the birth of Flashback Mary. So what happened was that James was at an event and he had way too much powder on his face. And so when they took this picture of him, it caused a flashback that gave him this like ghostly, ghoulish, sinister SCP look to him. And the internet was immediately obsessed with this. Like, this is definitely one of the biggest memes that has hit the internet. Ask anyone, ask your grandma, ask your local pastor. They know Flashback Mary. The main comparison that was being made to James was of this spider from, what is this show called? It's called Miss Spider's Sunny Patch Friends. Like, I can't express to you how many times I've seen this image against my will. I wish I could permaban it from my brain. Something a little disappointing about this meme though is that the widespread image of Flashback Mary is not the real one. This is the real one, and I will say the flashback is still really bad, but whoever edited this picture just made it 70 times worse. An interesting artifact of the time that I found was this Redbubble page that just exclusively sells Flashback Mary furniture, such as clocks and pillows. I really don't understand Redbubble. People will just sell anything there. Anyways though, speaking of James Charles's foundation, he does not know how to match that shit. Like, there's entire compilations of him doing just that. And in this video specifically, he describes himself as having warm undertones.
That looks like it could be such a good match for me. Everyone is convinced that my skin tone is like not warm.
Girl, you are pink. you're pink. I think the funniest part about all of this though is that he literally has a YouTube video trying like 40 different foundation shades, and in the end he still chooses the wrong one. Side note though, another James Charles ism is that he chronically misuses Facetune, especially in this era. And to be fair, he's never hid that he uses Facetune, but it just looks so bad that I don't understand why he continues to do it. Like, when I see these pictures, I get Uncanny Valley, Russian sleep experiment, creepy pasta vibes. Moving on though, we have the IT Debacle of 2018. Now, the IT Debacle began on December 7th when James tweeted about how he was gonna go see it and how excited he was about it. But literally 5 minutes into the movie, he started tweeting about how bad it was. Which of course is just nutty, because how have you already decided that you don't like the movie and it's only been 5 minutes? And like, why are you even on your phone? About 30 minutes later, James tweets again. And this time he says, "This movie is so predictable. I've been texting at Beach Lauren what I think is gonna happen next, and I've been right every single time so far." Both of these tweets annoyed people for obvious reasons. Like, he's just been texting the entire movie. It doesn't even sound like he's been watching it to know if it's bad. And so in response to all the people questioning why he's doing this, he writes, "Why am I being attacked for saying I didn't like a movie? LMFAO, y'all need to find something better to do with your lives." But then Finn Wolfhard replies to one of these tweets and says, "Why are you on your phone in the movie theater? Rule number 1. Granted, at this time, I think Finn was like 12 or 13 maybe. And so James tweets, "I just got dragged by a child star. I'm kind of honored." Which sounds like he's accepting the end of this. Like, this should be the end of the conversation. But instead he starts backtracking times 3,000 and he says, "It was a fantastically made movie. I went into it expecting it to be more horror and was disappointed when I wasn't scared." For the next few hours, people on Twitter would not leave him alone about why he was texting in the movie theater. And so he eventually says, "Literally everyone has at some point. Stop pretending like you haven't just to get likes for disagreeing with me." And this dug his grave in even more, because people were like, "What do you mean everyone does it? Like, everyone does not do that." Personally, as an AMC Stubbs member, this pains me. Follow me on Letterboxd so I can feel important. But this caused people to start doing polls about whether or not people actually texted people during movies. And the results were, of course, overwhelmingly no, they do not. And again, this should have been the end of the conversation, but he just keeps acknowledging it, and he ends up filming an apology video in the backseat of an Uber.
I want to personally apologize to Finn and anybody else involved with the making of the movie It.
And regardless of all of this, a couple days later, he ended up doing an It makeup tutorial.
Hiya, sisters. James Charles here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Which, by the way, the first 6 seconds of this video changed my life for the worse, so I'm gonna make you see this too. In 2018, the Sister Squad formed, and this was basically just a vlog squad of these 4 best friends that consisted of Emma Chamberlain, Ethan Dolan, Grayson Dolan, and of course, James himself. Now, Ethan and Dolan Grayson had a huge YouTube channel that they had been making videos on since 2014. And James ended up meeting them in late 2017 after he left a bunch of very questionably thirsty tweets on both of their Instagrams. These include comments such as, "Run me over with that motorcycle, daddy," "Choke me with that seatbelt, daddy," and last but not least, "Hit me with that stick, daddy." On June 9th, 2018, the first ever Sister Squad video video was posted. And this had a cultural impact like no other squad at the time. I don't care what anyone says, it is the truth. The Sister Squad was such an immediate success, and all of their videos were pretty much just them hanging out. Each one of the Sister Squad videos got around 30 million views a piece. And so to say that people were invested in this friend group's dynamics would be an understatement. The most notable dynamics in this friend group were that of Emma and Grayson, because it was heavily theorized that these two were secretly dating, with fans constantly speculating about them and making entire compilations of their interactions. And secondly was the dynamic between James and Grayson. It was pretty much an open secret that James had a crush on Grayson, and there's entire compilations of him unsuccessfully flirting with him. And definitely some of these incidents were pre-planned as a joke, but there are also many that are straight up just very raw, very real. Like, you can feel the rejection in the air. You're like, ugh. And this is all very important to remember for when we get to Bye Sister. So just keep this in mind. And despite this group being able to make millions and millions of views per video, and despite the way they seem so close in these videos, these two things had appeared to cause some turmoil. Because by February 4th, 2019, Emma unfollowed all of them. And to be fair, she did unfollow everyone but like 6 people, and posted on her story that she had done that for a social media purge. But to be honest, it doesn't really make sense, because if you're doing a social media purge, I think you still follow your closest friends and just not anyone else. So it kind of seemed like a convenient excuse. And James Charles's response to this was this tweet: "I posted a beautiful makeup look today, but you wouldn't know." In November of 2018, James released his first ever makeup palette, and this of course was James x Morphe. Now let me tell you, this palette was extremely popular at the time. Everyone that I knew had this, I had this, and it was just generally really well received. So this new level of entrepreneurship really brought him up a threshold of passionate fans. Like, he did an appearance at a Morphe store in Birmingham, and 8,000 people showed up to the mall to see him, and it literally caused gridlock outside of the store. Like, people were trapped in their cars. That is how popular he was at the time. However, it wouldn't be long until James found himself in another controversy. Also, oh my god, I almost forgot to mention that he was singing unprompted in front of this Morphe as well. The 2019 Sisters Tour. So James was doing a tour across the country, and the most expensive ticket that you could buy to see him was $500, which a lot of people were quick to call a scam, and he received a ton of backlash for this. Personally, I don't think this was a scam, because you were going to get what you paid for. Like, it says right here what's included with this. It says exclusive hangout with James Charles and the other sisters VIPs, one-on-one photo with James Charles, exclusive sisters VIP goodie bag, an exclusive autographed tour laminate, front row seats, and early access to merchandise vendors. Okay, that last one is crazy. Like, if you're spending $500, I think you should get some free merch. In no way do I feel like this is worth $500, and like, in my perspective, I would feel like an asshole to hide a meet and greet with me behind a $500 paywall. However, if you really wanted to have all of that stuff and spend $500, that is your business. James did say that he would try to talk to his team about lowering the prices, but they did remain the same. And in case you're wondering what the luxury VIP James Charles experience was like, there's a video on YouTube titled "I Paid $500 to Sing with James Charles," and it's him surrounded by by a huge group of girls singing Listen by Beyonce very poorly.
Time has come for my dreams to be heard.
A genuine perk I see for anyone who went on this tour, though, was that they got to witness the new rules kick in real time.
Don't let me have to kick them out again.
This became a meme just purely out of being the perfect storm. People just found out that some tickets to the tour cost $500, and then they see this poor singing and poor dancing and that third miscellaneous kick. Mwah. Let's take a break to talk about something that definitely isn't overpriced. Today's video is sponsored by Care Of. You guys, I'm so excited that Care Of decided to partner with me again because I genuinely love my vitamin packs. Like, Care Of has truly made remembering to take your vitamins and incorporating them into your wellness routine so convenient. And all I had to do to get the vitamins that were right for me was take this little online quiz, and it basically asks you questions about your lifestyle and about your health goals. Then boom, Care Of sends you doctor-backed recommendations right to your door in compostable packets. So when I took my quiz, I said that I was concerned about my skin health, my eye health, and also that I wanted to improve my focus. And they ended up recommending me astathaxin. That's good for your eye and skin health. Then I got some ceramides, which is of course also good for your skin health. I got some Rolioda, which is for stress and focus. And honestly, I could really rave all day about all of these because since I've started taking these, I'm hooked and I've never been more satisfied with my skin, my hair, and my focus. Like, I feel like I'm genuinely getting good results. Care Of also has these wonderful powders that I love. I love their collagen. Seriously, I have tried other collagens and I hated them. They wouldn't dissolve in my coffee. They had a weird taste and like it would just change the consistency of the coffee itself. Like, it was horrible. This is very important to me. Like, you guys don't even get it. So if you want to be super stoked, have some personalized vitamins that are research backed and reap all their benefits, click here to take the quiz and use my code NikkiC for 50% off subscription items in your first order. Thank you so much, Care Of, for sponsoring us today. And now back to the video. Welcome back. Now we're entering the calm before the storm. And what I mean by that is we are on the cusp of DRAMAGEDDON. That's right, it was early April 2019 and no one had a single clue that the biggest drama the internet would ever see was about to occur. Now, let me introduce you to the essential characters of DRAMAGEDDON. Okay, so here we have Tati Westbrook. She was a beauty guru as well as James's mentor and close friend. He even referred to her as a mother figure. As you can see here, this is James doing Tati's wedding makeup. Like, that's how like this they were. And prior to these coming events, Tati had started her own supplement company in 2018 called Halo Beauty, and they basically sold like hair vitamins and skin vitamins, hoopla hoopla. Enter Jeffree Star. If you don't know who Jeffree Star is, he's probably in the top 10 worst people on the internet. And to fully explain why that is, that would require like a whole 3-hour video. The TLDR is that he has a very successful makeup company called Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and his channel at this time was massive in the beauty community. However, not as massive as James's. And side note, in 2024, he lives on a farm and sells yak meat. So there's that. Our last big DRAMAGEDDON figure is Shane Dawson. Now, Shane is probably also on that top 10 list of worst people online. Come to think of it, James is too, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. What is important to know now, though, is that in the landscape of 2019 YouTube, for some reason, Shane Dawson was like a respected documentarian, and he had just done a documentary series about Jeffree Star. Looking back on it, these videos were not good, and 60% of them were just like filler, but each and every one of them got around 30 million views. With that in mind, this brings us to Coachella 2019. This is where it all kicks off, dude. During this time, James was seeing an influencer named Gage Gomez. Seeing in air quotes because it was less of an actual relationship and more of an actual like bi-curious experimental time on Gage's end. But they were photographed at this Coachella multiple times, which made fans start to speculate that James had a boyfriend. And so a lot of people began to tweet James about this. And he actually responded to one of these tweets saying something along the lines of, "No, I'm sadly still single. I was manipulated by a con man." I looked everywhere for this tweet. I know I read it and I remember writing down what it said at some point, but I just can't find it anymore. So sources that trust me. James then subtweeted about Gage several times over the Coachella weekend, including this one, which says, "I'm sitting sobbing in my hotel room at 8 a.m. and have to be on set in an hour. This is no one's fault but my own, because my dumb ass continues to go for the same type of insecure cute boys and it gets me hurt every single time. I fucking hate myself. Tensions are rising. Things are bubbling up, okay?" And the next day of the festival, James ended up getting mobbed by fans because for some reason he didn't have like a VIP ticket, which would have let him into like exclusive spaces to not be around so many fans. And so all these people were running up on him, right? He's like, "Holy shit, what do I do?" And this led him to text his friend and fellow beauty guru Nikita Dragon, and he asked her for help out of this sticky situation. And so she connects him to the Sugar Bear Hair team because they had their own VIP tent with space and they were gonna let James in exchange for him doing just one Sugar Bear Hair ad on his Instagram story. And so with no other choice, he signs the contract and gets in that tent. But let it be known that Sugar Bear Hair was a very popular vitamin brand, as in beauty vitamins, as in for your skin and face, aka a direct competitor to Tati Westbrook's brand Halo Beauty. DRAMAGEDDON has arrived, her story in the making. On April 22nd, James posted his contractually obligated ad on Instagram. Notably, as you can see here, he's actually promoting their sleep gummies, not the skin or hair ones. But he does this and then he gets on a plane to Australia. For what I'm about to say next, at this point in time, Tati Westbrook is 37 years old and James was only 19. By the time James landed in Australia, Tati had already posted multiple stories of her crying and saying she feels so betrayed by a close friend and how she's been taken advantage of by somebody who she thought she could trust and she helped so much. And it was very obvious, like, that she was talking about James because he had literally just posted that Sugar Bear Hair ad, so people added 2 + 2 together. And so, unbeknownst to James, thousands and thousands of people had begun adding him on Twitter, messaging him on Instagram. People he knew were sending him messages being like, "What's going on with you and Tati?" And so he gets off the plane, right? He sees this. He tries to call Tati. He tries to text her. He tries to call her husband. Neither of them answer, but Tati just continues to post on Instagram. So he decides to just make a public apology post. This apology read, "I want to publicly apologize to my close friend Tati. She has been like a mother to me since my first days in this industry and has given me more love, support, and resources and advice than I could ever ask for. This weekend, I did an Instagram story for sleep vitamins that I've been taking because the brand helped me with security security when the crowd around me at Coachella became unsafe. I did not accept any money for the post. As most of you know, Tati has a vitamin brand which I take on a daily basis. But at the moment, I did not think about the competition, which was a major oversight. I've supported Tati both online and off like she has done for me, and I'm devastated that I hurt somebody that I truly love and have endless respect for. I think the mature thing for 37-year-old Tati to do after seeing this would be to just talk to him, but instead she just continued ignoring him and posting about this situation and crying online. And so a few days later, on May 4th, 2019, Gr00ming, another beauty guru, posted this video titled Makeup and Opinions. And during this video, he indirectly talks about the drama going on between Tati and James, saying that it's stupid basically that Tati keeps like subtweeting about him but won't actually say what's going on or just talk to him. And he's honestly so right. Like, this 37-year-old woman just implying that her 19-year-old colleague has done something awful for days on end but then refuses to say anything about it to like divulge more information. And so Gabriel concludes this segment of the video by saying, "Girl, go sit on the internet and talk about it then." And those words would unknowingly be the final straw, the final catalyst for the video that we all know today as Bye Sister. Okay, so Bye Sister is one of the most iconic YouTube videos of all time. Seriously, the cultural impact of this cannot be minimized, cannot be silenced. I still remember where I was when Bye Sister happened. It was a cold, windy day on May 10th, 2019, when Tati decided that she needed to spill the tea, air quotes, on James Charles. This video is insane from start to finish. It begins with Gr00ming's famous last words, "Girl, go talk about it on the internet then."
So if you're gonna go on the internet and cry and heavily imply that there's a horrible human being and everybody can get what it is, girl, sit on the internet and talk about it then.
Imagine being the person that made this happen. But there are three major claims that Tati makes in this video against James Charles, and let's just tackle them bullet point by bullet point. First and foremost, she claims that James purposefully sabotaged her vitamin gummy business by pre-orchestrating the Sugar Bear hair contract. Two, that James is obnoxious and talks about and balls. Three, and the most serious one, is that he tries to manipulate straight men. But let's just start off with the vitamins. Tati lists multiple ways in which she supported James over the years, from poring over contracts for him, setting up his Google AdSense, sticking by him even after he tweeted about Ebola. But despite all of this stuff that she's given him, she claims James gave her no warning before he posted his Sugar Bear hair ad, and also that he actually made the whole Coachella security thing up, like he wasn't getting bombarded by fans or anything. He just already planned to do the Sugar Bear hair ad. Her reasoning is that there was no way that a company would ever just go out of their way to give you a contract just like that. And so he has to be lying. And even if there was a security problem, even if he was getting rushed by fans, he should have simply walked away.
You should have walked away. You should have held on to your integrity. You're a phony. I know that now.
These are all really interesting things to say because at the height of James's fame, I would think that a lot of companies might want to leap at the opportunity to work with him. I also kind of love it. I'm kind of gagged by the way that she just says, walk away from people mobbing you.
A lot of people are like, what was he supposed to do? It's dangerous. It's like, leave. Go home.
Why are you drowning? Just breathe. Why are you getting cyberbullying? Walk away from the computer. She goes on to blame him for potentially losing thousands and thousands of dollars due to his Instagram ad because nobody's gonna buy 2 different brands of hair gummies.
It's not a palette. It's not something that people buy multiples of.
But she then contradicts herself by saying that she doesn't need ads, she doesn't want ads, and her product is selling like hotcakes.
We're selling like hotcakes. Like, I don't need to at this point.
And if it seems as if I'm going on about this first bullet point for a while, it's because the majority of the video is actually about the gummy vitamins. She claims that James said that he couldn't advertise for Halo Beauty on his channel because he had too many young fans watching and he didn't want to like market them supplements. And so she's like, but here you are on your Instagram story selling sleep pills to kids, which is that's a reach. Ma'am, these are melatonin gummies. Moving on to the fucking balls and straight boy allegations section though. Unfortunately, those 2 things are interlinked in this video, so that's why I'm roping them together. It's not that I'm not taking the last one seriously, it's that Tati has done this to me. Tati claims that James tried to manipulate a waiter at her birthday dinner into thinking that he was gay. She also claims that he was saying very loudly explicit things that he wanted to do to him. But what was most shocking to her was the fact that he was willing to talk about all this in front of her family and his own parents, which is why we get the iconic sucking fucking cock line.
Sucking dick and cock. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, time and place. And you did it at my birthday dinner.
She claims she told James to leave the waiter alone and that he was straight. And in response, he said, "It doesn't matter. I'm famous." She concludes the video with talking about some other vague instances of James trying to manipulate straight men and claims that the only reason why she's posting this is because it's a last-ditch effort to get through to him so that he will stop trying to manipulate and seduce these straight men. Okay, let me just do a quick disclaimer here. I'm gonna be treating the bi-sister allegations as their own separate thing, not really trying to connect them to further allegations because I feel that that will get very crazy and twisted, and that's not what I want because a lot of bi-sister, as you will see, gets debunked, whereas in the future there are actual victims that James has like with receipts, you know? So I don't want DRAMAGEDDON and like that world intermixing out of respect. And so with that in mind, we need to talk a little bit more about the elephant in the room with bi-sister. And that is that Tati spent the majority of the video talking about her beef with James with the vitamins, but then in the end claims that she's making this video because of the sexual allegations, including but not limited to the sexual harassment of the waiter at the restaurant. Also, just have to mention it, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the Jeffree Star lipsticks sitting in the background of this video, oh my God, move over classic literature writers, that is the best foreshadowing I've ever seen. Regardless, the immediate public response to bi-sister was cataclysmic. The video quickly accumulated 30 million views, and a trend sparked within the hour of burning or destroying your James Morphe palette. Seriously, there's many of these compilations. This one alone is 10 minutes straight of people just destroying their James Morphe palette. Not only this, but James Charles is Over party was trending on Twitter. My personal memory of this is going on Snapchat and seeing on one of my friend's stories that there was a line out the door at my local Ulta of girls just returning the James palette. I really wish I could have found footage of that because it contributes to a bigger picture here, and that is, I think everybody had a little bit of mass hysteria with this because I have just never seen people react in the way people reacted to Bye Sister. Like, people have done other alleged things that are of equivalent or worse, and we have not seen something like this happen. Anyways, though, within all of this havoc, later that night, James posts an apology video simply titled Tati. This is a 9-minute video, but I'm willing to bet the actual amount of talking in it is more so around like 4, because in it, James is very clearly jet lagged and tired. Like, he's whispering, he's talking really slow.
I met Tati.
And not only that, he only apologizes for disrespecting Tati. He doesn't confirm or deny any of the other allegations. He just says he needs to be more careful of his relationships in the future in the public eye. And so he posts this, and to say that people didn't receive it well would be a flub. It'd be a little flub. As soon as this video dropped, a ton of channels began live streaming the live sub count of James Charles losing thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers, meanwhile showing Tati gaining subs. I'm not joking with you guys when I say there was probably like 300 of these channels all active at once, and in the live chat people were goading them on like a sports event before terminally online makeup girlies. At least partially because of these live sub trackers, James Charles would become the first YouTuber to lose 1 million subscribers in one day. There were a ton of memes about the Tati apology video floating around, and let's just say all of the breathing in it did not help the case. Meanwhile, a ton of people started chiming in about the situation on Twitter and even just kind of making things up to insert themselves into the conversation because it was so trendy. For example, the singer Zara Larsson posted this tweet that said, "I'm cackling because he hit up my boyfriend in the DMs several times, knowing damn well he's straight." She would later go on to apologize for that because she didn't realize that he had only sent her boyfriend one message. There was also a person making the claim that in high school, James had catfished the entire football team just to trick them into sending him dick pics, which, I mean, it's a wild claim. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's wild, I will say that. At this point, people are also mass unfollowing James on Instagram as well, and some of the people who unfollowed him include people like the Kardashians, Demi Lovato, Ariana Grande, but most importantly to all of this is the fact that every single one of the members of the Sister Squad unfollowed him, which effectively ended it. The next day, May 14th, Gage Gomez uploads a video titled My First YouTube Video, and in it, he talks about how James, having subtweeted him, had actually caused a shit ton of his fans to come to his page and start threatening him and harassing him. He also says that James realized that these subtweets were wrong because he ended up apologizing to him and deleting them, but essentially he just wanted to clear his name out of this. Confusingly though, shortly after this video was posted, he went on an Instagram live stream, and when somebody asked him if he was single, he said that he had just been dumped and seemed to have implied that he was either James or related to James in some way.
Someone by the little name of I'm not gonna say it. Starts with a J.
What makes this even more convoluted too is that I found out on one of the days that James was at Coachella, he went to brunch with this guy named Dylan Geik, I think. And the of it all is that this person, Dylan is Gage's friend and speculated more than friend. So there's that interesting thing. And then Dylan would later go comment on Gage's page calling him a clout chaser. I don't know what kind of friend dynamics or anything were happening here, but it made me very confused about Gage's stance in all of this. Shortly after that live stream though, Gage would post another video that just made me even more confused, because in this video he says that James tried to manipulate him into thinking he was gay, even after telling him that he was straight multiple times, but James kept pursuing him. I have nothing more to say about this video other than I totally believe that could have happened, but also I'm confused.
Alrighty, here we are.
I'm just a little bit lost in it all. Let's move on. While all this is going on, Ian Jeffrey, aka James's little brother, tweets out, "Why does everyone act so tough over the internet?" And Jeffree Star chimes in with an AK-47 for no reason. He says, "Why is your brother a predator? Why did you really move back to NYC?" Exactly. Shut the f up. For context, I guess Ian had moved back to New York City to be with their parents recently, but saying this to a 17-year-old that probably has no idea what you're talking about, it's so Jeffree Star. Like, at least he stays on brand, like he just continues to be a bad person. But Jeffree ended up continuing and he said, "There's a reason why I haven't seen him since Tati's birthday in February. He is a danger to society. Everything Tati said is 100% true." On the same day of these tweets, Sam, the waiter from Tati's birthday,
Sucking dick and cock.
posted a YouTube video explaining his side of the story. And basically, Sam explains that James had asked another one of the waiters for his number and if he was single. He also complimented him on the way that he looked. Since he didn't get his number, he left the restaurant and that was that. But later that night, Sam's sister convinced him to DM James and talk to him again. And so he did, and they started talking. James apologized for flirting with him, at which point Sam said he actually found it flattering. Their conversation escalated until James invited him over to his hotel room. And since Sam says that he was bi-curious, he went to go meet up with him. He says they ended up making out for around an hour in the hotel, and that James is the worst kisser he's ever had, and it's just...
If I'm being honest, he's the worst kisser I've ever kissed. Way too much tongue.
He then goes on to say that James begged him to stay in the hotel with him, but because he did not enjoy the kissing, he decided to leave anyways. And now, the following week, James offered to fly Sam out to California for his birthday. But Sam told him that he'd figured out that he was pretty much straight, so it wouldn't be right for him to accept the invitation. At which point, James became upset and told him that he was not straight and that he hoped that he figured that out sooner rather than later. The TLDR on the end of this video is that the last straw for Sam to cut contact off with James was finding out that he was also talking to Gage at the same time, meaning that he thought that he was playing two straight guys at once. On May 13th, Nikita Dragon jumps back into DRAMAGEDDON and tweets out screenshots between her and James Charles where she's trying to back him up, trying to be like, "See, it really did happen, guys. Like, he was getting bombarded at Coachella." But this really only made things worse because after Tati's video, everyone really believed that James had reached out to Sugar Bear Hair in a pre-planned effort. Not to mention that she didn't bring up the straight boy allegations, so people were clowning on her for this. She posted a YouTube video the following day titled revealed what really happened. And this made plenty of fans click on the video expecting her to talk about the James and Toddy situation, of course, because what else could this be about? And mind you, I haven't actually watched this video because it's been completely scrubbed from the internet, could not find it anywhere, but apparently instead of addressing anything relevant, she just makes a general statement about mean comments and then plugs her beauty brand for the last like 5 minutes, which goes to show just how much people were capitalizing off this beef. I mean, Nikita Dragun literally was there at Coachella with James. She could have said something about the subject, but she was like, I'm gonna get in on this with my Dragon Beauty brand. This same night, Jeffree Star goes on Snapchat and starts talking about how he has crazy receipts on James and he's gonna be exposing him very soon. And I have to say, this is probably my least favorite thing that Jeffree does all the time, is that I feel like he actually does have crazy blackmail against people, but he only ever uses it for his own self-interest. Like, if he has something insane, some kind of crazy proof that James Charles has done something beyond the pale that we don't even know about yet, the only way he would leak it is if it was in his benefit. On May 17th, Toddy Westbrook posts another video addressing this whole situation called Why I Did It. And for some reason, this video hasn't been archived. I was only able to watch someone else's reaction of it, but the basic gist that I got was this was just her doubling down on what she had said previously. Only now she says she wishes people wouldn't pick sides between her and James. But little did anyone know, the next day on May 18th, James would upload No More Lies, which is probably the internet's biggest Uno reverse. Since there's so many claims in Bai's sister and so many debunkings and not debunkings happening in No More Lies, we're just gonna take it category by category again. Name of claim, state of claim. So firstly, she said the ad was pre-orchestrated. It wasn't. He has proof, screenshots that he talked to the Sugar Bear Hair team on the grounds at Coachella. 2, she said James didn't give her any warning before he put up the ad. He only said something after, which is not the case, and he had screenshots of their text message where he warned her in advance, and to which she replied, I'm so hurt, and then he did a lengthy apology. 3, she said that James said he wouldn't talk about Halo Beauty on his social media or his channel because he didn't want to promote supplements to young kids. This is a really weird and strange lie. Like, he promoted Halo Beauty multiple times across his social media pages. So I'm trying to understand, Tati. I'm trying to understand why lie about such minuscule things.
I just received my package from Halo Beauty. This is Tati's brand new brand.
Another one of Tati's claims was that James had been using his power, influence, and money in order to extort sexual favors from people and manipulate them. To which James admits that he's a 19-year-old virgin, and that isn't the case because he's not fucking. But I will say this, at 12:40 in this video, he says,
Will never use my fame, money, or power to manipulate or get any sexual actions from a guy.
Which did not age well. When it comes to this allegation in the James Charles timeline, I have a little bit of a question mark over it because I'm not sure how much damage he had done at age 19, but from what we know about Gage and Sam the waiter, there were some strange tendencies already at play. Another claim Tati had made was that at her birthday dinner, she had tried to tell James that the waiter was straight and to leave him alone. He replied saying, it doesn't matter, I'm so famous, right? Well, it turns out that was actually a lie as well, because there's screenshots of James and all of his friends, including Tati, making the same joke where they say, we're so famous. Like, it was not supposed to be a serious thing. Again, really interesting. Don't understand the choices to lie about something so petty, especially when your overall message was supposed to be about something as serious as like sexual misconduct allegations. And speaking of Sam the waiter, James has screenshots of their conversations as well. And in these screenshots, you can clearly see that Sam had actually told him straight up that he was bisexual. So this is where it gets kind of interesting because Sam didn't mention this in his side of the story. After they'd agreed to stop their relationship, James had blocked him. And after this, Sam had used his friend's phone to DM James from his account and lie and say that he figured out that he actually was full gay so that he could get him on a FaceTime call and record him. Instead of talking to James about his gay revelation, he asked James if he was talking to Gage at the same time that they were talking. At this point, Sam told James that he wasn't actually gay and he was just trying to get him on this phone call, and so James hung up. But then, after the call, Sam texts him that he's basically confirmed bi, which is why in Sam's video, you saw the screenshot of James saying that you're not straight, you'll never be straight, the sooner you figure that out, the better, etc. Now, outside of Tati's allegations, Jeffree Star had personally been texting James that he had a bunch of dirt on him and that he was going to expose him for various things sooner or later. And so at this point in No More Lies, we start to address that. And so Jeffree's claims are as follows. Number 1, that James had been talking shit about him. Number 2, that James had tried to force Jeffree's brother-in-law to like him and sent him unsolicited, inappropriate pictures. Thirdly, that James had trapped Sam the waiter in his hotel room and that they were all gonna get together and film a video about how that happened and expose him. Lastly, and this is the craziest one, that he had tried to touch and molest Grayson Dolan in his sleep and made him uncomfortable for months. James's rebuttal to these claims were that he had only talked to Jeffree's brother-in-law a handful of times and it was nothing inappropriate. Next, the trapping Sam in the hotel room thing we know is not true because Sam himself said so. And then finally, the rebuttal for the most serious and crazy allegation is that this is simply not true and that the rejection jokes that were in the Sister Squad videos were pretty much all staged. James also claims that the Dolan twins were among the first to call him and make sure he was alright during the initial bi-sister dramageddon of it all. However, there wasn't any receipts for that. We don't really know what happened between them, and neither one of the Dolan twins ever refollowed James, so there's that as well. But we'll talk a little bit more about the Dolans later on. But all in all, No More Lies changed the YouTube landscape for weeks and flipped the entire situation on its head. Like, never in my life have I seen people switch up this fast before. And despite everybody initially being on Tati's side with all of this, right after this video dropped, his subscriber count began to rise again, and meanwhile, Tati's began to fall. Speaking of Tati, her immediate response to No More Lies was to get on Twitter and say things like this. I've left town on a digital break to heal and pray for healing on all sides. My family made me aware of what was just posted, and I'm disappointed to see it littered with so many lies and half-truths. I stand by my videos. Do not twist my words into what they are not. Hear the message. Dudes, can I be totally honest with you guys right now? The way Tati speaks like she's a Buddhist monk pisses me off. She also posted a couple other tweets, but they basically said the same exact thing, like praying on all sides, peace and love, da da da. Then she went on to do like a novel length post, and the TLDR that I'll give you is that she says, I've spent the last 8 years building my career on honesty, integrity, and truth. But let me just remind you guys that Tati is a makeup reviewer. She basically says things like, I hope that our community is somehow strengthened from all this madness, and that we will all strive to hold ourselves and each other to a higher standard. Girl, what? Jeffree Star also immediately got on Twitter and said, everyone keeps asking me for receipts. I have so much to say and some really sad, disgusting things to show you guys. James Charles tried to mass manipulate all of you today. When I show you the proof and why I tweeted the tweet about him, you'll understand. And get this. Get this. Tati deletes Bye, sister. After just typing up novels about how she said what she said and she stands by it and she's praying for everyone on all sides. I hope the community gets stronger out of this. Like, you can't claim that this was for the betterment of society and then take it down. She then took like a week and a half off of YouTube and returned with a video called I'm Back. And it's literally just a makeup tutorial. She just pretends like none of that even happened. And as you can see here, the audience was just very confused by this. The top comment on this is literally, Tati, I stand by everything I said. Also Tati, deletes video. A day after the Tati video, Sam the waiter also returns to the internet with a new video titled, I'm sorry, James Charles. In it, he says that his friends and his family pressured him to continue talking to James and even typed out some of the messages to James pretending to be Sam. He also says that they told him he should just pretend to be gay so that he could date James and get all the opportunities that would come with that.
We villainized him for our own good.
James returned to YouTube in June to a very pleasant audience and a very different internet than just a few short weeks ago. By all standards, Tati's videos should have been the final nail in the coffin and impossible to come back from, but there he was. It was an amazing comeback story at the time. In November of 2019, Tati was still trying to fully ignore what happened and move on despite not saying anything. And so she launched a makeup brand called Tati Beauty. And spoiler alert, both Tati Beauty and Halo Beauty would not survive the upcoming pandemic. And despite everything that Jeffree had said about James being a disgusting monster and how he had all these receipts, he was ready to expose him. By March 2020, he had done a full 180 and even left a supportive comment on one of James's posts. I mean, this is Jeffree Star we're talking about, so this isn't that surprising. Jeffree Star, very lore heavy evil man. Anyways, Jeffree then went on to post a video titled Never Doing This Again. And I know just from that title, you're thinking, wait, what is he never gonna do again? In this video, he basically says, just because I said that I hate James Charles and I want him to die and he's disgusting, doesn't mean I hate James Charles.
Because I said those things, that does not equal me hating James Charles.
But my personal favorite part of this video is when he says, there's no hate in this heart.
There is no actual hate in this heart.
He also says that he's not gonna give the people what they want. He's not gonna come out with receipts and cancel anyone today.
They want me to open up my phone and expose it all. I'm done doing that.
And he basically says that he was being manipulated about James and being fed things that weren't necessarily true.
There were people telling me a lot of stuff.
The video ends with him saying that he's done with the tea and he's done with the drama. He would then proceed to have the most stellar run of tea and drama for the next 4 years. And something important to note is that during this time, both Jeffree and Shane Dawson were pretty much facing PR nightmares. And they were both trying to quickly clean up and do a little bit of damage control because fans had found resurfaced images and videos of them doing various problematic things. So imagine as Jeffree Star's fans are demanding him to take accountability for some old problematic stuff, he decides it's time to rewrite history a little bit when it comes to his loyalty to James Charles. Meanwhile, Shane Dawson was having a much harder time dealing with facing his actions because the thing about Shane Dawson is that he crumbles. He crumbles under pressure. Meanwhile, Jeffree Star, I don't want to armchair psychology him, but he might actually be a psychopath. He is able to lie himself out of any situation, just like that. Easy, simple. But this guy having to face the ramifications of, let's check our notes. Blackface, racist characters, said the N-word, said various other slurs, various instances of sexualizing minors, and etc. There was so much backlash with this that YouTube temporarily demonetized Shane's channel, which is really funny because it all comes back to him not being able to handle the heat. Like Jeffree Star's channel, fine. What did Jeffree Star do? A lot. Pretty similar things, actually. But he could take the heat. And so imagine you're on your 10th YouTube apology, pretty much, and you have a bunch of dirty little bug bites all over your neck, okay, and you have scabies, and you're salivating. I'm so sorry that I sexualized Willow Smith. Nobody gives a fuck, Shane Dawson. Fucking cry. But imagine that was your mindset, okay? You're going just a little bit loopy already. And then on June 30th, Tati drops a video called Breaking My Silence. And in this video, Tati says that she was coerced into making By Sister by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star.
I made it as a result of all of the poisonous lies that were fed to me by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star.
Fuck! This is so Netflix short little special coded limited series. There you go. That's the fucking word. So Tati says that she's apologized to James Charles and that they've met up together in private and compared screenshots that they have from both Jeffree and Shane and come to the conclusion that this whole thing was a mass manipulation from both of them. And according to Tati, she learned that being friends with Jeffree Star is like being friends with a lion.
I learned that being friends with Jeffree Star was like being friends with a lion. He may have been dangerous, but he was always really kind to me.
Mind you, okay, anybody at any age can be manipulated. This is very true. However, in my opinion, there is no way that she is not at least partially responsible for some of this. And I can't stress this enough, okay? Don't freak out, don't freak out. Every character in this story sucks. We have our main character, Predator baking in oven. We got racist guy number 1. We have a racist guy number 2. And last but not least, petty vitamin woman. So in this video, Tati makes a series of new claims, okay? So first off, she says that when she met Jeffree Star, she knew he had a controversial past, but that she took it upon herself to try to make him a better person and get him involved with her favorite charity, which did not work. She also claims to have known nothing about Shane Dawson's past, and that she did no research on him. Like, all she knew was that he was the, quote, most adored documentarian on YouTube.
I wish I had educated myself and I was aware of his earlier content.
In my opinion, this truly doesn't add up because we're talking about Shane fucking Dawson. But anyways, she goes on to say that Shane told her that he was making a documentary about the beauty community and that it was rapidly developing and rapidly changing due to new information that Jeffree Star had collected on James Charles. She says it was actually Shane's idea to make By Sister and even went as far as to offer to edit it for her. And when Tati hesitated, he sent her a voice memo of an alleged victim of James.
It wasn't enough for me to contact the authorities. It was enough to scare me.
Jeffree and Shane claimed that as soon as she posted By Sister, a plethora of victims were going to come forward, but then they never did. Tati goes on to theorize that Shane and Jeffree actually orchestrated this whole thing as a plot to destroy James because they were jealous of his career trajectory and they wanted as much attention as possible when they released their collaborative palette, the Conspiracy Palette. She then gets super tinfoil hatty at the end and says that she believes that there were many more players involved to orchestrate this whole thing, and that it is not a coincidence that after the whole fallout, Morphe came out with gummy vitamins.
I do not think it's a coincidence that Morphe is about to launch their own brand of hair, skin, nail gummy vitamins.
I have beef with every single one of these people. Like, we can scrap. I don't give a shit. But Tati, even though she's not the biggest villain here by far, really irks me because I feel like she acted completely out of selfishness. I agree that it is plausible to have been manipulated by Shane and Jeffree, like especially Jeffree. But if Tati truly believed that the allegations that Shane and Jeffree were telling her were real and that serious, why did she make the majority of By Sister about gummy vitamins? And why did she falsely accuse him of sexually harassing the waiter amongst other things. Conclusively, the entire video was based on somebody else's lies, but she doubled down on it multiple times over the course of several months, and holds virtually no accountability for causing the cultural switch against James, who at this point she is saying is completely innocent. And like above all else, I think my biggest issue is the fact that she says that there is a voice memo that is damning enough that warranted her going through with that public flogging. Yet now she's saying, wait, that wasn't real. And a question you might be asking right now is, what the is in the voice memo? Well, it's currently 2024 and we still don't have the answer to that, but there's been a ton of speculation as to who it is. A lot of people theorize that it's Grace and Dolan, since Jeffrey made that claim about James molesting him in his sleep. People also think this because despite the cultural shift back to liking James, the Dolan twins still never followed him back or even publicly spoke to him. But I'm not saying that I believe this. This is just a theory, okay? I hope that's not true. With Jeffree Star though, it's really hard to tell what is actually true and what's total bunk, because he seems to always merge partial truths with lies. And so it's like, okay, part of this could be true, but that might not make the entire story have validity. But in the aftermath of the Breaking My Silence video, Shane Dawson gets on an Instagram live stream and starts like tweaking.
This is insane. This is insane. This woman is a oh my god.
This entire live stream consists of him calling Tati a liar and running around his house like he just drank iced coffee and he has to take a shit.
I can't. I don't want to say mean things about people. This is insane. This is insane.
It's actually hilarious because I love kicking Shane Dawson while he's down, and I'll do it again. For legal purposes, this is a joke, but I wish that we could collectively blast Shane Dawson into the sun. James's response to all of this public freaking out is just a tweet that says, "Love you guys." On this same day, Trisha Paytas would also upload a video titled "Tati is dumb as hell," which I'm only mentioning because it is so off the cuff and untethered. And to summarize it in one clip,
because she said, "When's the sugar hair, bear hair, drama, what the fuck?" I was beyond gaslit. No, you're just stupid.
In the following days, Morphe cut ties with Jeffree Star.
Morphe said they made the decision to cease all commercial activity related to Jeffree Star and related products within the coming weeks.
And on April 20th, he would go on Mom's Basement podcast and reaffirm to Keemstar that James Charles is a monster and that he still has the voice memo of the alleged victim but doesn't want to publicly out them. Yet 2 months later, on July 18th, 2020, he would release a video called "Doing What's Right." And in this video, Jeffree says a whole lot of nothing. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm not gonna cancel anyone today. Sorry, I'm not coming in with the steaming hot tea today, y'all."
Today, I will not be sitting here showing a million text messages and all these things that allegedly are out there.
He goes on to say that he's done with all the drama and that there's bigger things in the world to worry about. And I honestly forgot that this apology happened in 2020, so I was sent into a whiplash when I heard him say that we need to focus on Black Lives Matter. Okay, back up. We're backing up. Back up, Jeffree. First of all, you've made a lot of claims, buddy. And now you're coming on here and being like, "Sorry, I'm not involved in any of this drama." Quote, air quotes, drama, when it's something supposedly serious. And then you're deflecting the conversation onto Black Lives Matter? What? He literally uses murdered people of color to take the attention off of him making claims that James is a predator.
Black trans women are being murdered every day and the news is silent.
Like, there are no words to describe this. Chat, are there words to describe this? Are there words for something so despicable? James is kind of like a predator and a danger to society, but that's like drama though. Anyways, hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Freudian Slip. Meanwhile, right after this whole Jeffree podcast debacle, James Charles goes on Impulsive, which is either Jake Paul's or Logan Paul's podcast. I don't know because I use their names interchangeably and I don't know who's who, but this podcast seems chill and it seems inconsequential at first. But then James just starts dropping bombs left and right. Like, let me show you some bullet points of what this man publicly admits. A little over an hour into the interview, James claims that he is far more mature than other people his age. By the way, he's currently 21 in this interview, but he then goes on to say that he's just not attracted to older men. And the absolute lowest that he would date was either 18 or 19, but looks a little bit older. And he says the absolute lowest that he would date,
the absolute youngest, like 18, 19, that looks a little bit older.
This is already more than a little questionable. Like, what is the point of dating somebody who is 18 or 19 but looks a little bit older? What is the point of them being 18? And you just said that you're more mature than everyone else your age. So why do you want to date somebody more immature? But as if that wasn't bad enough, a few minutes later, he goes on to say something even weirder. He says that he's tried to fly boys out to LA because a lot of them don't have any money or they're still in high school. Oh, I mean, senior in high school.
Because you can't afford a plane ticket, you're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college.
Oh, so you really said that. And who makes mistakes like that? There's an owl in here. Who makes that kind of mistake? And it's probably a minor. Admitting to outsourcing teenagers from other states at the age of 21 is crazy. And they didn't even have to waterboard that out of them. And by the way, might I mention that nobody had a negative response to this? Like, the boys on this podcast are just like, oh, yeah, totally. And maybe they just felt awkward or wanted to keep the peace, like didn't know what to say. But damn, if that was me, I feel like I would have a visceral, uncontrollable reaction. Like, what? And like, not to be too gross, okay, but like these boys that he's outsourcing are literally the same age as his little brother. Like, does he see his brother as an equal when it comes to maturity and growth? Oh yeah, and last question. Have you seen every person on Earth that is your same age or a little bit older than you? Have you? How have you already determined that you're not attracted to people older than you? There's people that are older than all of us that just look youthful. So what is it really about, James? The last thing I want to say about this interview, because I could honestly talk about it forever, is that he also claims that he wouldn't date a fan in it.
You won't date a fan?
No.
Just remember that, okay? On September 1st, 2020, James would do a collab with Emma Chamberlain. And this was the first time that these two would reunite since before DRAMAGEDDON. In an interview with the paparazzi, Emma also said that her and James were in a really good place. But when asked about the Dolan twins, she basically says, don't hold your breath.
Pieces, we need the Dolan twins back. And if everybody can get on the same page.
No promises on that one.
Nope.
On September 16th, 2020, James would have a mini controversy over some allegedly stolen designs. Now, as you can see here, this is a color block Sisters merch hoodie, okay? And now let's compare it to a hoodie that was originally designed by Teddy Fresh, aka H3's brand. While obviously James's says Sister on the front, and this one just has like a red square that says Teddy Fresh, the sweater is still the exact color grading. Like, it's the exact same shades in the exact same spots. And when James was confronted about this, he said that he had never heard of their brand before, despite the fact that people were quick to point out that one of James's best friends, Lorraine, had pictures in that exact Teddy Fresh hoodie on his Instagram and was even featured on the Teddy Fresh Instagram page. And like, obviously no one owns colors, but the fact that they were the exact same shades in the same areas is suspicious to say the least. Also, just generally speaking, James's hoodie is really ugly. In October, James got his very own YouTube original show called Instant Influencer. And it was a competition where amateur influencers competed for a $10,000 video setup, a collab with James Charles, and $50,000 cash, I think. And the show revolved around them doing doing different challenges. One very noteworthy one is an episode where they do an apology video challenge.
I just really want to apologize and I want to change.
Just terribly ironic. And if I can be completely honest with you guys right now, if I had just one teeny James Charles wish on a star, it would be that Instant Influencer could come back, but obviously with a different host, because this show was actually good. Like, literally, YouTube, can we get somebody else, literally anybody else, to host the show? I vote Sarah Shower. Let's go. Of course, I've already spoiled this for you, but the show does not exist anymore. And I'm sure you might have already guessed why. In February of 2021, a minor came forward and alleged that James asked him for explicit photos and videos over Snapchat. The minor in question posted a TikTok where he explained that he had previously DM'd James because he was a fan.
Proof of it right now. This is the notification that I got when he Snapchatted me first. And just for further proof, he deleted the chat. I don't know what he deleted, but that's me opening his Snapchat.
And so they began sending snaps back and forth. And one day, James saw that he was in the bathroom. And so he began making the conversation very sexual.
So he started making the conversation very sexual and it made me really uncomfortable.
Saying disgusting things like, take a video of yourself in the shower. And can I see your muscles and hair? He then began sending nudes of himself, which I cannot show you. But I'll tell you this. It is very clearly James Charles's musty, busty BBL booty. Once he sent these nudes, the victim told him that he was only 16, to which James allegedly replied, "Oh, but I haven't seen your dick yet." Then, after saying he didn't want to send nudes, James kept hounding him for them anyways. Like, for example, in this screenshot here, he says, "It would literally take you 30 seconds to take a pic like this, haha." James would later claim that the boy told him that he was 18 in a Notes app response on Twitter. And the TLDR of this lengthy Twitter Notes app thing is that James says that the boy messaged him excitedly, telling him he loved him. And so he began talking to him without asking for ID. And I find this really interesting because he just said on the Impulsive podcast that he did not want to date a fan. But in conclusion, he says, "I will now be asking everybody for IDs." The fact that he's like, I'm still gonna DM questionably young people, but I'm gonna be asking for IDs now is crazy. Also, even if they are 18, like I said, seeking out a barely legal 18-year-old is creepy. James, how does that make it okay? This is still your teenage, 18, that's a teenager, fan. Also in February, yet another underage fan came forward. This time, it was a 14-year-old. And he also said that James sent him unsolicited nudes and inappropriate videos of himself. This boy alleges that he reached out to James Charles on a dare, not expecting James to answer, of course, but when he did, he got very excited. Of course, this is a famous person, so he wants to talk to him. James then added him on Snapchat. Are you seeing a pattern? Are you seeing this? He claims that James kept pressuring him to come out to LA and that he was also trying to get him to question his sexuality. And remember that Impulsive interview?
Hey, like, why don't you come visit? Like, well, I can't afford a plane ticket. Yep. And it's like, okay, well, I can. So, like, get on the plane.
Well, this alleged victim literally thought that he was speaking about him in that segment. Also, big shout out to Paige Christie. I was literally only able to find this information from her video. Like, so much of this has just been like scrubbed from the internet. Like, Big Sister is like watching. Trisha Paytas replied to this whole situation saying, "I'll say without a shadow of a doubt, James Charles is the only creator that deserves to be banned and stripped from all social platform. He's abusing it by with minors, repeated behavior happening as recent as a few days ago. This is an actual predator / file." I have to say, I completely agree, and I don't know if he's the only one, but I do completely agree that he should not be on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram. Like, and it just gets worse. On April 1st, James would upload "holding myself accountable" in response to all of these allegations. Yes, it's true, he posted a response to Allegations on April 1st. Now, this video makes me mad from beginning to end. He basically says he trusted the information that was given to him rather than the info that he could have or should have gotten himself. And yeah, that's true, but I feel like he's immediately deflecting from the fact that even what you thought you were doing is wrong. James then goes on to list being desperate as a reason for why he makes all these dating faux pas.
And it is ridiculously embarrassing to admit this, but I'm desperate.
And then he just starts brazenly lying, like outright like a dog lying. He says, and I'll partially quote just so that I don't have to play like a long clip and get copyrighted or something. "It's really looking like I'm actively searching for younger people to be in a relationship with. And that's absolutely not the case.
My hope has always been to be in a relationship with somebody around my age or older."
Hey, wait a minute. Isn't this the exact opposite thing of what you said earlier this year?
I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks.
He concludes the video with a detailed description of how he came to the realization that him talking to fans created a power imbalance, and that from the get-go he should have never had these conversations to begin with because he ignored red flags. Babe, the red flag is YOU. I have to say, while this apology video is definitely not well received, and we'll talk about it in a second, he is pretty clever, I will say that. His use of language really disassociates himself from the facts of everything. He says, for example,
"And for that, to the victims, I am so sorry."
Okay, these are kids, and these are not just victims, they're your victims. Ironically, holding myself accountable would later be deleted. Later that month, Morphe would release a statement saying that they're permanently cutting ties with James. But in the eyes of a lot of fans, this was too little, too late. In light of the recent allegations against James Charles, Morphe and James have agreed to end our business relationship and wind down sales of the Morphe x James Charles product offering. It is and has always been Morphe's goal to create a positive, safe, and empowering space where all beauty lovers can freely share their artistry and passion for cosmetics, and Morphe is committed to furthering that goal. I don't know too much about PR, but fuck all if that wasn't really bad. First of all, they'd waited weeks to say anything, and when they finally did, they were like, "We and James have decided to scale back." Like, what do you mean we? Fans were also quick to point out that all the James Charles products were still being sold at full price on their website. This same week, YouTube announced that they would be temporarily demonetizing James's channel. And as a result of all this, James took a 4-month break off of social media. When he returned, he posted a selfie on Instagram that announced that he had just posted a video called An Open Conversation. And I will say that this is incredibly on brand in the worst way. Now, the comments on An Open Conversation are so funny, and this is the first time that I truly felt and noticed that there were so many people just done with him. Like, this video only has 6 million views, and I know that's a lot still, but in comparison to other videos, even such as Taking Accountability, there was a huge dip in viewership. And these people made the right call for obvious reasons, and were also fortunate enough to not bear witness to this video turning into a makeup get ready with me at the 4-minute mark.
As you guys know, I posted my Holding Myself Accountable video.
Absolutely dystopian, I fear. Getting sued. In the following month of May, a former employee of James named Kelly Rockline would sue James for wrongful termination. And let me just read you one of these headlines so you could get the full gravity of this situation. James Charles' ex-employee speaks out about lawsuit. claiming he didn't pay overtime and asked her to shave his butt. To get into the nitty-gritty, the specifics of the suit though, she alleges that 1, James had her working 12-hour days, 7 days a week. 2, that when she was promoted from video editor to producer, he didn't hire anybody to take over the former position. And so she was left doing both. 3, she was not paid overtime for any of this. And 4, that she had suffered a head injury in front of James Charles. To quote this Business Insider article directly, the head injury resulted in her experiencing headaches, temporary loss of consciousness, confusion, amnesia, and other ailments, according to the complaint. She alleges Charles was not sympathetic to her recovery needs and callously accused her of not being dedicated to her job as a result of her work being delayed when she was hospitalized. And right after Kelly returned from being hospitalized, she was fired, despite never having received any negative feedback. Kelly also alleges that James used the N-word in front of her with the hard R and everything. Moreover, on the ass situation, Kelly says that James would walk around the house half naked, call her names like bitch, and once texted her, "Kelly, I might need help shaving my butt," in preparation for a revealing Coachella outfit. James has since publicly denied all of this in a lengthy Twitter video.
Just the craziest claims you could ever imagine.
But the suit is still ongoing. Although I will say, I could totally see him doing all of these things. Kelly, get behind me. 2022 was a relatively quiet year for this MF. Like, his only controversy was tucking on Instagram and twerking while tucked, which resulted in him losing 130,000 followers in a day. And I won't show you that video here because you don't deserve that. Everybody say, "Thank you, Nikki." And by the way, if you didn't unfollow him for the grooming, but you did for the tucking and the twerking, I don't know. It might be time for me to take you out behind the barn and shoot you. On January 6th, 2023, Morphe would end up closing all of its stores. And this was a crazy thing to happen for anybody who was really into makeup in 2019 and 2020. Like, it was a very popular store to the point where it was valued at $2 billion at its peak. But the company had made the unfortunate decision of fully investing into James Charles and Jeffree Star to be the focal point of their stores. Especially James. Like, seriously, I did not know what the hell Morphe was before his palette. The brand name had kind of become synonymous with James. Like, he was their most successful product. In other words, James Charles is virtually the reason why Morphe died. Like, that is very crazy to think about. Bro brought down an entire industry. On July 13th, 2023, Cosmopolitan published an article about James titled, "James Charles would like to be uncancelled, please." This article, quite frankly, is a blasphemous piece of trash. Honestly, the woman who wrote it, Gabrielle Bluestone, should have to serve public service for 6 months just for writing this shit because it is so foul. You need to be picking things up on the highway. Get out of here. Let me just read you a direct quote from it here. "It's no surprise that a star's willingness to answer intimate questions about a catastrophic stretch of their lives increases dramatically when they have a project to promote. In today's case, that's ostensibly Charles's new makeup line, Painted, but it's also Charles himself. This very interview is to be a trial balloon. Its reception the answer to the question both of us, and maybe you too, if what auto-populates in Google search can be believed, are here to ask, is James Charles still canceled?" So that alone basically self-diagnoses itself that it purely exists for James to win over public brownie points so that his new makeup line can do better. Bluestone also writes, "When I polled friends and colleagues about Charles in the run-up to this day, the general consensus was that he had done something bad, but no one was clear on exactly what." This to me feels like her claiming that these random civilians in her office not knowing what James Charles did is evidence that he hasn't done anything that serious serious, or it's at least less serious than people are making it out to be, which is a real logical hootenanny, I'll tell you that. The article then goes on to say the wildest, like my cat's looking at me. He's more cautious now, although not so much that he's given up on the DM sliding completely. Instead, he started requiring potential romantic interests to provide IDs before he'll engage. I'm a club bouncer at this point, he says, which even still hasn't stopped the occasional breach of trust. Earlier this year, a TikTok user shared snippets of a flirtatious conversation he had with Charles, in which Charles outlines his requirements for a boyfriend. Charles also tells me he recently caught a 17-year-old trying to lie about his age by taking out a digit on his ID. And when she asks James why he wouldn't just use a regular dating app to find a partner, he basically says that he feels too exposed on apps and that anybody could take a screenshot of his profile and brag and tell their friends about it. I don't know how to say this nicely, so are you stupid? How is talking to people on social media any less risky than using a dating app? The article just got done saying that somebody leaked a private DM onto the internet that was from Instagram. It wasn't from a dating app. And it's also like on a dating app, you can instantly verify like somebody's age. You can investigate whether or not they're a catfish. You can investigate their social media if they have it linked to the profile. And so at this point, I really have no choice to assume that this isn't just stupidity. It's malicious. Because you know who's not on dating apps? Minors. In September of 2023, James was seen asking for a 17-year-old's age on a TikTok live stream. And I mean, do I even have to say anything? This is a direct result of the same repeated behavior over and over again. I found this clip from Frenemies of all places that kind of perfectly summarizes how I feel about this.
Because you know what? Like these people who are sick like this, they keep doing it. But sick people like can't help themselves but do it again. Like
a normal person would have stopped. A predator cannot help themselves. In January of 2024, another boy would come forward with claims that James had talked to him inappropriately while he was a minor. And this boy actually has a screenshot of James sliding in his DMs and saying, "Age check."
He DM'd me that, and I responded and I said, "I'm a very mature 16.
And something that made me really sad about this TikTok where he talks about all the inappropriate conversations that they had was that he says, "I know I shouldn't have been talking to him like that. I know I had no business talking to him like this."
Now I understand right off the bat, I shouldn't be talking like that or like trying to like entice them.
The self-blaming of it all, it's sad. Please allow me to just like armchair psychology this man for a moment. James keeps getting himself into these situations, right? And he blames it on the fact that he can't meet people in the way normal people can. But riddle me this. Why is he the only person with this problem? Like, do you know how many gay influencers are in LA that do not have this issue? Do you know how many people in general just don't have this issue? And I think what makes James especially dangerous to be online is that when he talks, he doesn't seem like a manipulative monster. Quite the contrary, actually. He's very well put together. He can seem fun. He can seem creative. And I feel that that leaves his audience extra susceptible to him. And to be honest, at this point, I think the only people that still watch him are younger teens that just genuinely don't even know any of this happened. James literally committed a crime and he's not in jail. So saying that he should leave all of social media is a very light sentence. Like, my brother in Christ, he should be in jail. But he can't even do that. And he's still using social media the same way that he always has. As if none of this even happened. It's ridiculous. And as always, I can't help but wonder why with people. I desperately want answers where there are none. Like, a lot of the time. And so when it comes to people like James, I look at pictures of them from when they were younger. I think about how in this video, James is just a few years younger than somebody who he would prey on. It's so disturbing that it almost makes me feel bad for the person because they live as a piece of shit every day. To be so schemy and strange and creepy seems very tiring. And this is like such a side tangent, but something that I always think about as somebody who's been through grooming is like, no matter what, I would always choose to be the victim rather than be the person that hurts people. That's just some food for thought. Like, the idea of being this person is ugh. That is about all I have for today, though. That is about all I can stomach. Thank you so much for watching, and if you would like to see more videos like in this format, that would be cool. I really do like putting together like these slideshows. Big thank you to my patrons. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you so much, and it's actually really wonderful to see so many people connect into like a little community in the Discord. You guys are amazing. Before we go though, I also did want to talk a little bit about a fundraiser that I started about 2 weeks ago called Creators for Palestine. This fundraiser is now comprised of over 100 creators, and we have so far raised over $700,000 for Palestinian relief, which is insane. I did not expect this many amazing people to get involved and for us to actually have a goal this large. If you'd like to support us, we're actually doing a huge live stream on Thursday the 30th. I believe this video is coming out on a Monday, so this is going to be just a few days away. If you want to show your support by sharing or donating, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for taking that time to listen to me, and I will see you guys very, very soon.